Hello, this is Father David, here with day 5 of Great Lent 2024. This is Clean Friday. We have come to the final weekday of the first week of Lent, and in many parishes there will be a second pre-sanctified liturgy. We had a pre-sanctified liturgy on Wednesday here at St. Anthony's, and it's often called for in these two normal fasting days in the church. During the week of Lent, we have these pre-sanctified liturgies. So for those that are going to be commemorating that tonight, God bless you. The reading from Isaiah for today is we move into chapter 3, and it is verses 1 through 15. Continuing in the calling out. And so this is what prophets a lot of times did. I mean, they make their case, speaking from the point of view of the Lord. They were mouthpieces, and oftentimes would even say, "Thus saith the Lord." And so Isaiah begins in chapter 3. "For behold, the Lord of hosts, takes away from Judah and from Jerusalem the strong man and the strong woman, the strength of bread and the strength of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge, the prophet, the diviner, and the elder, the captain of 50, and the wonderful counselor, the skillful artisan, and the prudent disciple. I will give children to be their princes, and mockers shall rule over them." In other words, like court jesters and things like that. "The people will collapse." So, basically saying your rulers are going to be clowns, and your princes are going to be, like little kids, the temperament of small children. I won't make a comment on, modern, our current situation over the past many years. "The people will collapse, everyone on another and everyone on his neighbor. The child will be arrogant toward the elder and vulgar toward the honorable. When a man takes hold of his brother or his father's servant, saying, 'You have clothing, you be our ruler, and let my food be under your roof.'" So it's such a low bar to have any prosperity here. They're going to just collapse. Civilization will be pretty much nil in Israel. And, "Oh, you've done so well for yourself. You have nice clothing, you must know what you're talking about. In that day he will protest," the guy with the nice clothing, saying, "I will not be your ruler, for in my house there is neither food nor clothing. I will not be the ruler of this people. For Jerusalem is ruined, and Judah is fallen, because their tongues are lawless, and they are disobedient to the Lord. Now their glory is humbled. The shame on their face witnesses against them. They declare and exhibit their sin as Sodom. Woe to their soul, for they planned evil upon themselves, saying, Let us hand over the righteous man, for he is burdensome to us." Hand over to, the authorities, or to people who will manhandle and harm them because they're inconvenient to us. "They shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe to the wicked." Now that word woe means like destruction is coming upon them. Okay? "It shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hands shall be given him. O my people, your punishers gather you, and those who make demands of you rule over you. O my people, those who bless you lead you astray and trouble the path of your feet. The Lord stands up to plead and stands to judge his people. The Lord will enter into judgment with the elders of his people and his princes. For you set fire to my vineyard, and the plunder of the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the faces of the poor?" That's a very vivid image. Grinding the faces of the poor, in the dirt, in the dust, almost like having your foot, your boot on their neck and grinding their faces into the dirt. "You set fire to my vineyard, and the plunder of the poor is in your houses." This hearkens to the words of St. Basil the Great, who said that, if you have boots that are sitting around in your closet that you're not using, an extra coat that you're not wearing, those sorts of things. Like maybe you go through and you're thinking, boy, I haven't worn this in 2-3 years. Well, we clearly haven't missed it. He says that's actually you're holding on to the clothing of the poor. You are robbing the poor. And so this is, we have a lot of things. They also say the shame on their faces witnesses against them. They declare and exhibit their sin as Sodom. So this, the sins of Sodom, plural, are those sins of unrestrained appetite, in terms of sexual appetite, in terms of disregard of strangers and wayfarers that come through, grinding the face of the poor into the dirt. But, allowing that unrestrained appetite to manifest in any number of ways. And of course, St. Jude speaks of going after strange flesh. Of course, this is where the word sodomite comes from. But there is also the fact not only that they did this to one another, that they went against the natural order of procreation, of complementarianism, of man and a woman being together to create life, but also, in addition, again, let's remember that orthodoxy is very much about both and. They also did so in a way that sought to subjugate and rule over and dominate other people. And so these sorts of things, all of this ought to be things that we pay attention to, and this is one of the reasons we fast. We fast from particular types of food to curb those appetites. Married couples, it's not a dogma by any means, but it is a good practice and a typical practice within the church to abstain as much as possible, St. Paul says by mutual consent, from sexual marital relations during a period of fasting. All of these are meant to curb our appetites so that we are not ruled by them, and we do not, whether it is acting out in anger or sexual lust or anything, or in terms of hoarding and desiring and needing and wanting things, which we keep from the needy. All of these things, fasting and asceticism in the fast is meant to curb. And so we have this within Christianity. Tomorrow, we're going to read from the Gospel. And we'll talk about why we're reading from the Gospel, the New Testament, tomorrow. But Saturdays and Sundays, we will be out of the Gospel readings for the weekends. But we'll tie it in with our looking at Isaiah and the message that he's putting forward towards the people of Israel. So let us keep this in mind. Let us continue, especially during this clean week, throughout all of Lent, to curb our appetites, to, by the grace of God and cooperation with him, master them, and then use our energies, our activities, to devote ourselves single-heartedly to God and also to our neighbors who need us. So, Lord God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.